Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Sethi.
Your host, Sethi.
And Stylist Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we? Ready to start?
Let's do this.
Here we go. Round 2 of quarantine podcast.
Social distancing.
Social distancing. All right, guys, so welcome to Elevated Grapes. I am your host, Sethi.
I am stylist, fashion consultant, co-host Rashi Bindra. Yeah.
Right.
Keeping it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so simple. Just like everything else you do. So simple.
Of course. Easy peasy. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, just like your hair. So simple with the bangs.
I just took my own bangs today.
So today we're going to talk about Rashi's hair care routine that she's doing during self-isolation. Because clearly something has changed since last week.
Okay, listen. I will admit that unlike some people, and like I do mean women who tend to put on a lot of makeup and they love taking selfies, we've all seen a decline on selfies on social media. I'm very proud to say I'm not one of them. Of like, I mean, okay, I post my selfies on my stories when I want to because.
No, you're saying you've seen a decline on social media?
Of selfies, of like those selfies.
Really, I feel like they've probably increased because people are home and they have nothing to do, so they're finding ways to take pictures. Actually, I spend a lot of time passing time on TikTok, and so that's dramatically increased. The activity on there is just crazy because it actually takes some more time and creativity and thought process. So people are they're spending time on their videos and putting things together.
Yeah, see, I mean that's there, but I meant those beauty and Instagram models and all of those, like that world, it's like totally like gone downhill. But I was watching Devil Wears Prada last night. It's 14 years old, and I still love the movie. And I woke up this morning, and I went to my bathroom, and I just cut my own bangs.
Is that the inspiration for the hair?
I think it's always been the inspiration for the hair, but you know what? I was just like, I want to do something different. I'm stuck here at home. And I also think this is just a different way to like change your look while you're at home and while you're working at home and things like that. So why not, right?
So is this one of those things, like, we're gonna get into our topic in a second, but is this one of those things where you're doing it just to keep busy, or you're doing it to give yourself something, different way to look? Like what was the main purpose of it behind it for you?
A bit of both. I mean, I think most of it was I just wanted to look a little bit different. I mean, now that I have a lot of video calls, which is something I'm also not used to doing. I'm more used to like just being in person and talking about like what I do and stuff. Now that it's more like video based, and I have like all my styling consults happening online as well.
Right.
I'm face to face with them all the time. And, part of me was like, I'm talking to these women about dressing for success while being at home, or like how to like clean your closet at home, all those things. And I myself look like, as if I've not put no effort into my own appearance. And when I decided to wake up and I'm like, oh, you know what? I really want to get bangs and just change my look and just feel good. I did it. And I'm not going to lie, like, I feel great. Like despite being at home.
Of course. Little things like that help. So, I mean, you're sort of touching on the topic already. So what we're going to talk about today, last week we talked about sort of self-awareness with self-isolation. Today we're going to talk more about the business side of self-isolation and how it's impacting, brands and what brands are doing to keep up and keeping relevant, but also at the same time being cautious of the fact that, I mean, yes, you want to promote your brand, but you don't want to be insensitive about what's going on in the world around us today too. So there's that fine balance. So you just talked about, something that's actually quite relevant given the current situation. When you're doing a lot of consults, a lot of styling from home, and working with different clients that you're working with on the self-awareness side as well. One of the things that you were in, like, sort of when the pre-corona and you were sort of working with styling projects, I mean, you're very, people would see you on set or at a shoot, and you're in your work gear, like you're not glammed out, you're not fashioned out. So what changes from that perspective now, given that you're doing consulting work, but you're doing it from home? Because in the past, it was like, I got to be comfortable so I can work at my optimal max, right? Whereas now it's like, okay, I want to also portray what I'm preaching. So what's different from then to now?
Well, a couple of things. So before, I was still focused more on fashion styling, and we had spoken about this as well, that I was slowly venturing into personal styling, and that's a whole different ball game, right? So while I was like figuring that out, and when I done like a couple of things, and I had done like a women's seminar, right, like the weekend right before a lockdown, I had dressed up and gone to that seminar, and where I was talking to like all these women about personal styling and things like that. Because what happens is that when you are personally styling someone, I feel that you can't tell them how important it is to look a certain way or to dress a certain way, and what feeling that like brings in you if you're not portraying that yourself. um One of the things now that I'm doing, and because of this, I had no choice but to really just jump in the whole personal styling aspect. At the same time, like you said, find that balance where I'm not coming off as like insensitive, because
Of course.
in people's minds right now, it's like, oh, okay, I need healing. I need to, keep busy. I need to figure out how I am going to pivot my life, not just my business, but my life right now, because it's been this, I think, our fourth week
I
or
mean, for
fifth
me,
week.
I've been home since March 12th, so it's almost, yeah,
Um,
it's just over a month now, right? I think, or close to a month.
yeah, so like close to a month, and now people, like, now the reality of everything has really sunk in. Like now it's like, not, oh my god, this is just happening, and we don't know what's going to happen in a month or 2 months. It's more like, okay, so now for the next 2-3 months, we are primarily at home. We're doing everything either online, or we're trying to figure out how to adjust our families and our lifestyles. And that takes a toll on you, that mentally and physically and emotionally takes a toll on you. Even if right away you don't feel it, it comes in waves. So one of the things I do when I'm talking to, and not just women, the men have started, reaching out as well. But one of the first things that we talk about is, how you are doing right now, what's your check-in, things like that. And then why the power of just looking great at home, even if you're home, how that just makes a huge difference. Like your energy changes, and when that positive energy is around you, like within yourself, if you're feeling self-doubt, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it does affect that. And you're like, okay, cool, I got this. It brings out a little bit of, confidence in you, where you're not worried about what's going on in social media and what's going on in the world. You're more like, okay, this is my space, this is my life right now, but I got this. And you feel that in a very peaceful way, and that just makes a huge difference right now to people. So and I talk about this more when I really get people on my one-on-one calls and my free like consult calls as well, just to like have them know what they're getting themselves into. But yeah, like, just seeing, all these women get that light in them, like, okay, I've got this, I've got my family, I've got my kids, I've got my friends, but I've got myself too, and they don't feel guilty about it. Like, that's huge right now. So yeah.
Sorry, as you were talking, I was also thinking it would be really hilarious if I could just poke my hand through this window and end up in your screen and then poke your head.
This is why we're friends.
But can you imagine that could actually happen? I'd go like this,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden ends up in your screen, and like,
and
yeah, you're like,
why
what the
would
hell?
you do that to me?
That'd be hilarious. No, but I see what you're saying. So let's sort of dive into that. So we work with, sort of on the Elevator Grape side, we work with a number of different groups that that primarily we work on them on an event basis, for content coverage and event correspondence. And now we've had to, sort of think of strategies with them to pivot again with the same idea, because, we want to maintain our relationships with them, And also we want to make sure that we're providing content that's relevant to what's going on today, with those partnerships. So we've taken some steps with them, and we're working through different strategies with some of those groups to see how we can potentially provide content that's again going to benefit both groups, but at the same time be relevant to what's going on in the world today.
Right.
So we're in the process but I think for all these brands, whether you're like sort of an online retailer or you're like us, who we our whole premise of our work is events and social networking and people getting together, which is obviously not happening right now. What sort of things have you seen that companies are doing both in our space and outside of our space that's been that they've had to do to manage and also to pivot to work, that you have found were smart ideas? Like I have a couple in my mind too, but I'd love to hear the kind of things you've seen, and then we'll share both of them.
I feel like so I feel like two things are happening. Like a lot of people who were doing events, or who had that huge network, they are kind of shifting into seeing how they can help. Well, I shouldn't say the word help, but how they can essentially provide a delivery service. I like
Yeah.
got another call or like another message today. They're like, oh, okay, we've like teamed up with local farmers, and we can get this meat and fresh like veggies and stuff delivered all over GTA.
Mhm.
And that's what they're trying to do right now, because again, most people are trying to shop online, even for groceries, and not leave their house. um, we've had a lot of companies like who are trying to do like virtual networking sessions, a lot of Instagram lives,
Mhm.
like a lot of Zoom meetings, where even if currently they're not getting an income, or they're in the middle of like pivoting, because that's a process. That's
Mhm.
like I too do it myself, and I still feel I'm not ready for it, because I'm so used to being in person. I can
Mhm.
just imagine what these brands are going through. Even then, like to organize all these entrepreneurial meetups and like
Very difficult.
networking sessions, it's very difficult. It requires a team, but you know what, that's how they're keeping themselves relevant. That's how they're involving people. And a lot of people have gone online, and they're starting various healing, self-awareness, and a lot of rebranding and social media services have like suddenly popped up.
Started to pop up. So let's talk about that
Yeah.
for a second, because content. So there's two things that you touched on there that I think are important. One is delivery of content, and what's the best content to deliver. Like we've had this discussion about doing Instagram Live versus content that's more permanent, right? Because the Instagram
Mm.
Live, I mean, it's on there. It's there for 24 hours at the most, I think, even after you finish it, and then that content disappears. Versus taking the same idea of what we would have done on Instagram Live, do it so it's more of a permanent, um, um, a permanent product, or content that people can go back and listen to or watch. What's the more appropriate? Because the benefit of the live is you get interaction with your audience,
Mm.
whereas otherwise you don't. But you also, the longevity of the solution is there. So that's one topic I think that's important to talk about. And then the other topic is how frequent and how much content is important. And like for me, like I'm on my, I can talk about it from a personal perspective. Like all my socials outside of Elevated Grapes are shut down because I'm rebranding right now. So
Mm-hmm.
like my content is nowhere, but and I'm not posting any new content. And this is obviously a prime opportunity because people are home, and they're out, they're on their online platforms, they're paying more attention to because they're spending their time with that, because they're not working as much, or there's they're not out with friends. So is there a loss for someone who's thinking maybe this is a better time to focus on that rebranding and not put content out because they don't have a platform, or they don't have an event to use to put content out, or they don't like what's the right strategy here given the time frame? So topic number one, Instagram Live versus permanent content. Like what's your thoughts on it? Because I think we had sort of a debate on this. We came from it with opposing thoughts.
So I think that really, really depends on what your goal is with that content. So I mean, I so if you and I were to go on Elevated Grapes and do an Instagram live where we are offering support, or we are having an open forum discussion, or we're talking about something that's important, that actually, or you and I are both on lives, because now you can go on live with another account, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah, of
have
course,
those
yeah.
conversations. And if that's relevant just for that moment or that week, that live is fine. But let's say if we are, if we feel it's very important to do like some sort of conversational interviews or styling tips or something that is like a lot more,
This is the
permanent.
this is the challenge of working at home. You get the
Yes.
internal home sounds going off, so that's why it's a landline. And it has vocals, so it tells you who's calling, which is even worse.
Which is amazing. Now we know who calls you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was talking over it, so you don't hear that.
No, we heard it.
Okay.
So like that part. So I think, sorry, just going back to my thought, it goes back to really what your like content is. Like, I mean, I'm home as well. I'm not posting as often as maybe other people are, but I'm very active on certain groups, and making myself visible, or now getting involved in like panel conversations online, because I'm like, I don't have the content right now to like put out, but me as a brand, I still want to be like relevant.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you raise a really good point there. Like, is it at what point, like, what amount of content is too much? Because you don't want to also saturate your content where it's pointless content going out too, where it doesn't have a flow or relevance to your brand or your service, or like you're just putting out content to be like, that's like, you got to be careful too, because under normal circumstances you'd be putting out certain content that, not, I'm talking about you specific, I'm saying in general now, anybody, right? Like you're being systematic about it, but like some people are just posting content to keep posting content because they think, oh, people are home and they're going to watch and this is my time to shine, kind of thing.
Not really. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I took like 3 days off social media. Like, in fact, like I asked you to handle our like social media for like a couple of days type of thing.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I didn't miss it. I wasn't like, oh my God, having FOMO. Oh my God, I'm
No, I'm
missing
not talking
this
about that.
live or this or whatever.
I'm talking about from a
No,
branding
but
standpoint.
yeah, but even as a brand, right? Because like I went off social media on both my branding accounts, my existing account and my Rashi Styles account. So I've not been like active on that. And even when I'm online or and I have to post stuff, I just I ask myself, what's the purpose of my content right now? Like, what am I trying to say? And is that important right now? Is that relevant? How is this going to affect any of my followers or my
your brand,
listeners or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not that important, I don't post anything. I to be quite honest with you, I see a lot of at times it gets overwhelming, because you are on social media, you see like so many lives and so many people trying to do this, and I get it, they want that engagement and they want to feel important and they want to feel like relevant. But what also happens,
it's still not working. It's still not working.
No, it's not working. and what happens with that is like you sometimes oversell your brand.
Yeah.
Like, if you're doing the same thing every single day, but it's not so relevant right now, like it's not going to change my life. If I don't see you on Monday, I really am not going to miss it. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, I'll catch it like another live, because it's always there. You know what I mean? That value, like when you overdo certain things, you also lose that value.
So that's happening a lot. Okay, like let's talk about this is a very, like, I mean, it's a market that I know really well, but the DJ market, like there's a million different Instagram live DJ events that are happening every single day. Like if you are like, it's like you're in a club with 15 different rooms and you can hop through different DJs IG lives, and there's different kind of music with different style and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's fun on a Saturday night if you're on a group chat with a bunch of friends and everyone's listening to the same, like, you're kind of having like a party in your own house.
Yeah.
But again, it got saturated really quickly. Like everybody's doing it. So as, like, let's talk about that specifically, that market, and you can relate it over to, for example, hosts that are typically, on set doing events or whatever the case. Like a lot of them are doing IG lives too, with interviews with different, prominent, media people or quasi celebrities or even people that are relevant to what's happening today. So there's a lot of that. So what is your thoughts on? I mean, I have my thoughts on it, but what's your thoughts on something like that, where like you're talking about saturation and overdoing it for your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I may go on and do it once a week, but because there's 7,000 other DJs doing it, am I getting lost in the shuffle, or is it something that as a brand the DJ should be doing just to again maintain the relevancy?
Well, see, I personally don't think that you would be lost in the shuffle, because one, you have your own style of music. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Two, because you're only coming in once a week, you're giving your followers and your listeners and even new followers a chance to get excited about something. And I know exactly what like what you're talking about. I like so when this whole thing like started, the first week, I was watching like this live and joining this conference and blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And
Mm-hmm.
after a while, I was like, these guys are there every single day.
Yeah, and
Like,
you're seeing it from like a business and entrepreneurial panelist perspective too, because there's a lot of those, like you mentioned.
yeah. And you know what? I was like, I respect the hustle. I respect the fact that you want to stay relevant. Trust me, I'm in that boat as well. I totally get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm not caring. Like, your value for me is going down, because if I don't get you on a Monday, you're going to be there on a Tuesday, you're going to be there on a Wednesday, you're going to be there on a Thursday, you're going to be there on a Friday. You know what I mean? Like, when I get
Yeah.
stuff that's
Yeah.
like once a week, or like, once in 2 weeks, for example, I plan my whole day around it. I actually do that, because I'm like,
So
okay, shit, I'm not gonna get this for like, like another 2-3 weeks, and this is really fun stuff. This is really cool stuff, and this is helping me feel better right now.
So my take on it is actually a little bit different than yours. I actually think as much as it's saturated, I think your frequency is very important. Like I don't think in this market right now, the way it's saturated, that once a week is enough. Whether you're like hosting and you want to do interviews, whether you're a DJ and you want to be on like do your Instagram live, whether you're a panelist, and I'll tell you why, because specifically to the DJ market, or think about okay, let's rephrase that. Think about a morning talk show on a radio station, right? So you get the same two people that are coming to the radio station 6 to 10 a.m. every morning, that are there and they're providing various different types of content. I think that if you're choosing to do it on a frequency level, I think the more frequent, the better, because the saturation is so high. If for example, if I was going to go on there and be like, okay, I'm going to only do Saturday nights between 8 to 11, the amount of DJs that are out there on a Saturday night between 8 to 11, your relevancy in that saturated market from that time frame, or you can pick any single one of the time frames, because they're all quite busy. Um, like the likelihood, and I do it too. Like I have like a lot of my friends that are doing this, and I don't stick to one specific channel. I basically hop channels, and
Mm-hmm.
because I have different friends on there, so I mean the banter online is a lot of fun, and then also I'm like I'm loyal to different people, so I'm checking out their pages. So that would happen naturally to anybody, because even if I have people that are loyal to me, they're still gonna hop around, because it's just normal too. So I think bringing, like, you may be busy on a Saturday night and that's the night I decide to do it, but you may be, chilling at home cooking on a Tuesday night. And if I'm playing music during that time for you while you're in the kitchen, that could be the time when you're listening to me, as an example, right? So I think that frequency is important, but I think if you're
Yeah, but
saying
like
it, you got
I
to commit
still
to it.
think yeah, and I still think, but I still think like every day is much. Like I do see your point as well. And Max, I'd say, okay, like do it like twice a week. Like there's this other fashion group that they
Mhm.
started doing, conversations half an hour twice a week. And you know what? That's fine, because I know,
You set
like,
it aside.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I wanna, watch this, and even then the content that they're coming out with is fresh, it's different, right?
Mhm.
Because they're going by what's happening right now, and you can talk to it, or like you can relate to it. I'm not taking away from the fact that, from a DJing perspective, like that frequency is not important. I still feel every day might be a bit much, but that's just my take,
Mhm,
and
mhm, mhm.
that's totally fine, right? Maybe I don't know that world as well as you do, but I also know that when certain brands come on just for like once or twice a week, that's when like you go at it, because you're getting that content. Like Business of Fashion did this amazing, it's I think one of the first uh they they did a Zoom live event um, on the state of fashion,
Mhm.
with the all that was happening, and they had over 200 people registered on this call, and they were like taking, and it was only for an hour. And the minute they like announced it, right, even I was like trying to figure out, oh my God, like how do I register for this? I want to watch it. And I made sure like, and because of the time difference, I was like, I planned my entire morning to sit and like watch this conference, because I was like, I'm not gonna like get this again, or like I don't know when this is gonna happen. Mind you, these guys do a live update on their podcast every day about what's going on with like different journalists and different like reporters, which I follow as well. But to be able to get like the editor-in-chief and all their partners and actually have a panel discussion, that's huge. That's amazing. So when they go live, which is not every day, but it's frequent as well, you're still interested in watching it. Maybe it's two different industries, right? Because the content is also very different. So maybe that does play a role in how like frequent you want to be on social media.
You made an interesting point just now, actually, with that strategy that they're using, because they're using both their podcast strategy and their Instagram strategy differently. Like they could go on, like you can go online. Like, I mean, our world's a little bit different because the content we provide doesn't need a daily sort of update. But if your business or the service you provide or the discussions you're having are relevant to day-to-day situations, I mean, you could have a podcast that does sort of a weekly recap, but also provide content on a daily basis on your stories, whether it's 35 seconds or over a couple of different stories, or an Instagram live that's relevant to that day, whether it's like for like, I think about the stock market, like if you're in that covering that part of the business world, I mean, you can provide a podcast. I mean, there's a podcast that do daily, but even on your Instagram channel, provide an update daily. And then obviously you do your weekly summary over your main podcast. So I think it depends on the kind of business that you're in, but using the strategy of your Instagram live versus your Instagram feed versus your podcast versus your YouTube channel, whatever other mediums you're using to get your content out. I think that the synergy between all of them can be so beneficial to you right now if you know how to use them properly and use them towards that message getting across in an appropriate manner.
And you know what, to be quite honest, like if you're to be able to like do that, and if you're working with your team and all those things, you guys all have to be in sync, because right now what was that?
What?
That weird noise you just made.
I was clearing my throat.
Oh, I was like, what, sound effects now?
Yeah.
You all have to like be in sync, because right now being relevant on social media is actually a lot more work than it was even like a few weeks ago.
100% agree with you.
And I don't know, I mean, and as someone who was that in that phase of trying to figure out, okay, how do I pivot what I want to do online and fast versus doing what I had to, like I literally, okay, so what I'm doing right now, or what I started to do right now, I had a 6-month plan for this. You know what I mean? So I
remember you telling me that. Yeah, and you're doing these things now.
And I'm like literally like, I feel like, you know what? Here's the ocean. Here you
jump
go.
in. You just jumped in. Yeah, basically.
I just jumped in, and even my like launch date for like my like program changed a bit, because I had that week or I had those 2-3 days where my energy was gone and the whole thing was hitting me, and I was like, oh my God, but I have to also pivot online. How am I gonna do this? And you know what I mean? I started like freaking out. But this is what most of us are going through, right?
For sure. Let's take a break right there.
Hey guys, we're taking a quick break just to remind you where you can find our podcast online.
You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Tunes.
Apple Music, but you know what, you call it Apple Tunes.
Whatever.
Right. You can also find us on TuneIn, on Google Play, and of course Instagram when we do it the first Tuesday of every month.
And Facebook, here and there.
Here and there.
Here and there.
So thanks for tuning in, and now back to our podcast.
And welcome back.
And we're back.
We didn't really go anywhere, but the camera needs to be reset on both sides. So actually, we're using an interesting strategy today. We're actually talking over Zoom, but we're recording also with our cameras at the same time, because we found last time when we recorded, we learned that there's a lag with the audio and the video once you've actually completed the recording. So we're trying a different strategy today. We're still talking over Zoom, but we're taking our cameras to actually record the video, and we're going to use that to create our final product that we're going to put online. And so hopefully there's not a lag and it works out a little bit better. So stay tuned. If it doesn't work, then this whole message was useless. So to your point, like, you took the approach that, okay, this is an opportunity for me to, and you kind of hustled in the moment to up your launch date for the new program that you were planning to launch, and you were planning it, obviously, not so immediately. You were planning it, I think it was 3 or 6 months down the line, because you're working through some of the processes of it. Whereas, I was working through a rebranding, which I may have rushed had things been a little bit more normal now, because I would still be at events, still be doing gigs, still be doing, in that environment, whereas now I'm not. And so, like, my social media has come to a complete halt because I'm rebranding. But I'm also taking my time with it because I know I have the time. I know there's a flip side argument, and this is why I brought up that question of maintaining relevancy during this time, because if you can, I mean, like I said, for example, DJs as an example, they're a dime a dozen right now. Even basement DJs who don't really do gigs are gaining a fan base, so to speak, because they're doing the Instagram lives and putting out content, which again is important. I'm not taking away from the important, because like I know that I'm missing some valuable time here too, but I'm also, from the standpoint, thinking, okay, I have my relationships where events are concerned, so I'm maintaining those, and I have no plans to lose those. I have agencies that I work with that book me anyway, but I'd rather come out with a stronger brand presence when I'm ready to launch it out. And so I'm taking my time right now, because there is no event, so I can actually spend that time to really think through the brand and the way I want to launch it.
So I'm with you on that to a certain extent, and I think we've and one of the things you and I spoke about when we were working on your rebranding was, now the reason why this can have so many different views on it, because it depends how you are rebranding, right? So like when I, for example, decided to do the whole personal styling thing, I also was technically rebranding. I have an official Rashi Styles account. I have a different, like not a different, but I've changed my logo that like works on works on that. But I still have the Rashi Bindra fashion brand, right? So for me, or in that term, that rebranding wasn't very drastic. It was just branching off to something else. Yes, I took a plunge a lot sooner, or actually I should say it was something I was working on, and I had a much more luxury type of 3-month program where you have photo shoots, and I come in and I clean your closets and take you shopping, all those things which I cannot do right now. So again, it's like, okay, going stables, boom, rebrand right away again, and trying to do something that I've never done before.
Yeah, you also have to take a different direction with the program that you I mean, like, it's gonna be part of it, but there's parts of it that you can't do now.
Exactly. So how do I take what I planned for like 90 days, condense it down to 30 days, and make it very, very, very accessible, even from a monetary basis, and at the same time provide amazing value? So I start building up a whole new base, right? So for me, that's my strategy. And then if you look at both my pages, one's very, black and white, a bit more refined, a bit more high fashion vibe. And then you have one that's very colorful, that's very like, personal. Now, in your case, your rebranding is very different. Like I'm not gonna give away anything that we've been working on, but yours is also very, very different. So for you to take your time, it was important, because this has to feel, and this has to be you at the end of the day, and you have to like come out and be like, boom, this is what I've been up to.
There's a comfort level with it. It's a longevity. I mean, I'm not like I won't give what we're talking about is like I'm amalgamating both my DJing brands and my hosting brands to create one brand. I mean, that's much I can talk about with it, but the details of it, I mean, we'll roll out properly. But yes, I mean, it has to be, because there's I need it to have staying power. I need the longevity. I got to be comfortable with it, because this is the branding that I'm going to be working with in all my projects. So whatever branding I come with, and again, it's not to say that I have the luxury of like being completely complacent and just taking like 6 months to do this. But I'm working through it on an expedited basis. But at the same token, like I didn't put myself on a 2-week cutoff just because I gotta work at another event or host another event, or that's
Right.
why I've afforded a little bit extra luxury time to focus on that,
But
because there's a long-term thought process here.
right. But then again, now going back to that process of, but because in your space, so many other, people are like coming up with like what you want to do, and are they taking that away from you? So from that aspect, I'll say, like, yes, I understand why you need to take your time in rebranding. We all do that, but you have to still, say,
Yeah,
okay,
of
like,
course,
I have to
100%.
be out there, and I
Yeah,
have to start, and you have to start putting yourself out there more, because you're not just a host, you're not just a DJ, you're not just a personal stylist, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
You have a lot going on. So
Mm-hmm.
and now what's happening is that because of this whole social distancing, so many online communities are being formed, and they're
Mm-hmm.
bonding, and it's not just in Canada. Like, I've
It's
been
international
getting
exposure.
clients now from like the States and stuff, you know what I mean, just for like
Yeah.
consults and things like that. So like, they're like getting to know me. So it's like, why? And so from a business perspective, I'll say, yes, like, this is your opportunity in your world and what you
Yes.
want to achieve, to reach a whole different market,
Yeah.
right? And that again goes back down to saying, what's your product, what's your service, what's your brand. So, and
And
that's
how
when you
relevant?
take away, if this period is important to, like, hustle right now, or take your time. Because one of the conversations that has been like happening around, that everybody's now like, oh my god, I have to like rebrand and be fit and do this and do that. And I'm like, no, if you just want to take a month to do nothing
Do
and
it.
relax and chill, do it. Like my own sister has been after me. She's like, this is your time, Rashi, to like take a couple of weeks and relax, because you've been like
Yeah.
on a go, like,
Which is
there's no
100%
tomorrow,
accurate. Yeah. And,
right?
and
But then
your sister said the same thing. My sister said the same thing. This is an opportunity to take that step back and not reevaluate, but reflect on what's important, and what you're like, even within your relationships, your friendships, your family relationships, like your businesses,
mhm,
what part of your business is important. A lot of, like, you and I, for example, in our projects, we're like, okay, we can take on 55 different things at one time. And then sometimes it's like, okay, look, let's scale back. But I mean, also for us to look at, like, what projects are important to us and what projects we want to spend our time on and grow,
mhm,
right? So I think it's very important, even for businesses or brands, to think about that at this stage. Is you have the time to do that now and be like, okay, what does my brand really represent? What messages do my brand want to get out, and what projects, and I'm talking specifically to the entertainment and
mhm.
fashion world. What sort of things do I want to get myself involved with and grow with, so that my brand speaks that same message over and over. Because sometimes if you're just being a busybody, you can get lost in so many projects that may not even be relevant, just because you think, okay, I got to be everywhere. My presence has to be everywhere for me to be known, or me to have
Yeah.
that network or that market or whatever, which may not be necessarily the right decision, because you're choosing quantity over quality. Right now, it's the time to find what is the quality that you're after, and what kind of like messages do you want to get out, and what kind of relationships and network do you want to actually have.
And you know what? From a non-business point of view, I will say this is also the time to really grow as a person. And when I say that, I mean internally. And what that does is, every other business decision you take, it can be some of the best ones you've ever
Absolutely,
taken in your
absolutely.
entire life. And even if at the moment it may feel like, what am I doing? And, am I taking the plunge on this? Which is something I've done for most of my life. So now for me to like sit back and, yes, thank you for doing that.
The punch.
For
I was giving the visual to your. I mean, I can do that for the whole
yes.
show. I can give visuals
No, no, no,
to your
please don't.
statements.
Please
Okay.
don't. Please don't. But like, now to like, sit back and sometimes take those extra 2-3 days, and then like, get my shower inspiration, like, oh my god, I thought of this,
Mm-hmm.
and just like start working on it. It feels good. And then the best part is, I feel so good, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not rushed. I'm not running for a bunch of things. Yeah, I will have a day or two where I have a bunch of calls that got hectic, and then my mom's calling me and I have to cook and all that stuff because we're like at home.
Mhm.
But it's still very like I feel people are getting overwhelmed that they have to like come out of COVID, like accomplishing something, like
Mhm.
pivoting somewhere.
I
And
feel, but I think I feel that too. Like I feel like I don't, not, and it's not from a relevancy standpoint. Like people who are, who have that mindset, like you got, the entrepreneurial type of mindset. Like I mean, you're out there to accomplish and achieve something all the time anyway. So I think in this time when you are also taking that step back and being a bit more laxed and being a bit more, focusing on other things, part of you still have that innate nature to want to do something and get things.
yeah, but
So I think
like
I think that's like I feel like that too, and like that's why we're not just sitting home and not creating we're still creating content, but we're trying to create content that's relevant and that's obviously sensitive to what's happening.
right, but what I was trying to like get at is that
Oh, you had a point.
I did, which you obviously interrupted me for. And that look on your face should get the punch.
Yeah.
No, what I was trying to get at is that people who aren't usually entrepreneurs or who were just thinking about side hustles, I don't
Now's a
want
good time to
them.
start that.
Hmm?
Now's a
Yeah,
good time
it's
to
not.
start that, or
It's a
plan,
good
or think
time
about it.
to plan, but there's no there's no judgment is what I'm trying to say. Like
Right.
what like, and again, maybe because of the people that I'm talking to, and I'm talking to not just fashion people. Again, I'm because
Hmm.
of what I'm venturing into, I'm getting so many different walks of life, and like all like people just feel that they have to create something or do something or achieve something, or like learn yoga, or like learn like dance or something or whatever. And I just want to like give that message where when once we like leave our houses and we walk out and stuff, if all you've done is just feel good about yourself, that's fucking huge. Because as people, we don't take
Did you
time
just
for
cut?
ourselves.
Did you just cuss?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Was it necessary?
Yes.
Did that make you feel good about yourself?
I'm making a point. Why you keep cutting my point?
I'm just, just want to be sure I understand what's happening.
I've swear before on the podcast.
Oh, I know. But I think like, like I've had conversations with like my mom about this, my sister about this, some friends about this. Like my sister's doing a bunch of like different things she probably wouldn't have done in the past because their lives have been busy with, being out and
Mm,
being with friends. My mom, she been otherwise has been busy with like so many different things, whether it's like her friends or like, some of the other networking things that she does, the projects she works on. But now like she's, like I sent her like, someone sent that list to me of like all those classes that Harvard's like passing out for
yeah.
free. And she's signing up for a couple of those 4-week classes and like, stuff that that's of interest to her. And like, so like, I think that is what's really cool about this, because you're getting an opportunity to do other things that you wouldn't normally do
Yeah.
because you're busy. So it's not even a sense of accomplishment, but they're taking the time to, I mean, we're off topic a little bit here, but just again, bringing back to the point of using this time to, I mean, that's part of self-care.
Self-growth.
It's part
Yeah.
of self-awareness. It's part of like, taking care of yourself. And that's another way of doing it, is like doing different things that you have an interest in, but maybe you wouldn't have had the time for before. And, bringing it back to the topic, whether even that could be a side hustle or business, like I've always thought about starting this. Maybe you can't start it today because you can't, your business is not necessarily online, and your ideas are not necessarily online, but now's a good time to have those conversations, maybe reach out to people that you would partner up with if that, when things are better, and you can start having those and start setting the plans. Like we're doing it with a couple of projects right now, which, I mean, we can't start by any means at this stage, but we're having the conversations with the people that we would need to work on those projects with, so that when the time comes and we're ready to do it, we're not planning those things at that time. We're ready for it and we can just start the actual process. So it's a good opportunity to do that. Again, you can be a little more relaxing because there's no deadline by tomorrow, but it's an opportunity to, because you have more time on your hands, or, and I think it's also a lesson that this time that we have on our hands right now is always available to us, but we choose to do other things that are not, maybe that just fill our time with things just to keep busy, whether it's spending time with friends. I'm not saying not to do that, but maybe you spend more time and you could be, dividing that time with doing other things that are also of equal value or importance to you.
And you bring up that very important word, like it's what you choose to do. So even
Right.
with this time, it's what you're choosing to
Yes,
do with
and what's
it.
important to you.
and what's important. You know, and that being said, like, we're the ones, and when I say we, I mean like all of us,
Yeah, yeah.
we're the ones who are like deciding. we're the ones who put the like importance on our
Absolutely.
friendships, on our relationships, on our professional lives as well, right?
I put the importance on my couch and my television.
Yes, trust me, I'm aware.
Yeah,
I am aware of that.
yeah, yeah. I know
By the
you're aware.
time you wake up, I'm like, oh, I did this and this and this, and like, well, so what have you been up to today? Like, I wanted to talk about this, and you're like, I'm just waking up.
Yeah, I had a bowl of cereal. That's what I did today.
Oh my god! And then I still complain that I have less time on my hands.
But I mean, yeah, like again, and it goes back to the point of what's important. Like you're still working on projects, and you're doing like your consultations. You're on different panels. You're on different like online conferences. Like so, but again, you're as much as you are not busy with like events and that sort of thing right now. You're finding, just like we talked about, you're finding things that are important to you, and you're spending your time on those. Which is whether some of it's personal growth, some of it's on your branding, some of it's on your business, but these are different segments of your life that you're almost like without even like cognizant of it, you're naturally giving it priority and making those important versus just doing nothing, right? So you're spending your time differently and you're allocating it differently, and that's going to benefit you when things go back to normal and you're back to like doing photo shoots and events and those sort of things, because you're taking all this stuff with you now. You're learning and you're growing with them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do miss being in studio. I'm not gonna lie.
Of
That's
course.
the one thing out of all of this. Like, I was like, okay, like I do like the whole like being home. I mean, I still wake up early anyways, so for me that doesn't really
Oh, I
change.
know.
What was that?
Well, when I get up in, like in the middle of the day, and like and 8 o'clock in the morning, there's like still messages. Oh, by the way, here's today's activities. Whenever you get up, let me know. We'll talk about these. And like bam, there's like a list of 8 things. I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna eat my cereal and not look at my phone.
Wow. See, guys, this is what I deal with. This is the type of partner that I have. He will not look at my messages.
Listen, if I want my one day off, I'm gonna take my one day off.
You have all your days off when it comes to me.
What are you talking about? That was really high pitch. So let's give a couple of our closing thoughts, and then sort of share what our summaries of our conversation was today.
Please go.
All right, because Rashi gets the last word. So on our two main topics, online presence, the frequency and consistency of that versus, not being relevant online, and time, taking that time to step back and potentially figure out rebranding. Now, we're not talking about all industries and all businesses. This is obviously specific to fashion, entertainment, and branding in that space. So I do think that having the online presence is very, very important. I think if you're going to do it, consistency is important. Like, I don't think it should be like a one-off once a week or whatever. Like, I think if you want to, like, if you're picking something to do, find a frequency that makes sense for your market. And I think stick to it. If you're going to commit to it, like just like a radio show, just like a TV show, just like a podcast, whatever it is, like if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go online and IG live every single day, even if you get 2 people watching you, or if you get 1,000 people watching you, like, I think if you're going to do it, stick to it, because that speaks to your credibility and your branding. And having something that is relevant and topical, and with certain partnerships and collaborations can actually benefit you at this time, because the relevancy and the amount of people that you have access to right now that are scouring social media to find things to do with their time, to listen to things, to watch things, to pass their time with, is a lot more abundant than it was in the past, because people are home doing nothing. So it's really important. But on the flip side, it is an opportunity to really think about and reflect on what's important to you in your branding and how to build it going forward. Like, even if you're not out there in the market, but join a panel, like you talk about, like what things that you're doing, Rashi, like join a panel, build those networks, see what other people are doing, and learn from it so you can grow too. So I think that this is a good opportunity to really take both sides of that equation and sort of build your brand into what you want it to be versus maybe where it is today if you're not totally happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touched on like some really, really good like closing points. And just to add to that, if you're unsure what your next steps are, like, you don't know how to pivot, take some time off from what you're doing, because
Yeah.
sometimes that step back and really just taking just like shutting off helps so much. It really really does make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Obviously, even if you're home, don't dress like a bum. I will say that, like, wear something nice, or wear those bright colors. Women do, like, put some, like, just put a little bit of makeup on. It, trust me, it makes a huge difference. Like, you don't want to then be like on your couch and like on your bed. Like, you want to, like, just have a nice active lifestyle while being at home, and you do feel good about yourselves. Don't cut your own bags at home. Trust me, don't do that.
Yeah. So when are you going to put together that video that we've been talking about, where you're showing women how to, some simple things and tips and tricks to groom or dress at home while they're working?
I never said I was showing women how to cut their bangs at home. It was an
Well,
idea, then I just ended up doing it myself.
I said self grooming and styles for dressing.
I am not tweezing my eyebrows for the world.
I'm not talking about your eyebrows. We're talking about We're talking about the style.
Oh,
The
the
style
style
video.
part, yes. Yes, I am behind on that. I have to do that. I'm just
Oh,
like,
we know. We're waiting for it.
okay. That was very fast.
I put mine together. I've been waiting 2 weeks for yours.
Yeah, but you're like, you and I are very different when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, but you do it in your Rashi way. You don't do it in my way, because that's my way.
What's the your Rashi way supposed to mean?
I don't know. That's what you got it. I can't answer that question for you. However you're comfortable doing it.
Yeah, but I don't usually do it. So anyways,
Well,
yes.
now you're
So
gonna do
I
it.
will. Aren't we all about just getting out of our comfort zone this year?
So much comfort zone breakage.
Pretty. Anyway, so back to my closing thoughts, Sauter. Do not cut your own bags at home.
Notice that
And
she still didn't commit to a time frame. Just saying.
I will have a style video up soon.
Okay. Well,
I'll
I'll know because I have to edit it, so I'm just waiting for it.
Yeah, I was supposed to do it today, but then like I got super busy, and then I'm
Right.
busy tomorrow, so I'll try Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's great.
Yeah.
Continue
Anyway,
on your closing thought.
So please wash your hands, stay safe, eat good food, like eat stuff that, makes you feel good. Don't just like have junk food and stuff. And yeah, you do you.
Rashi's motto for 2020 is "You do you."
Yeah, you do you, boo. Like,
Okay.
I am there for like support in any way I can, but you do you.
All right. On that note, all the booze. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to Elevated Grapes. Peace out. Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there, and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.